Okay. Hi, Joni. How are you? Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for coming on. It's nice to have you here. First thing I noticed right off the bat on your bio, 25 million books sold?
No, that was Steve Berry sold 25 million books and he endorsed my book. I don't know him, but a year before Vatican Daughter was even published, I contacted him and asked him if he would consider endorsing it. And he wrote back, sure. I was both in shock and
Oh,
completely stunned.
okay. 'Cause
So
this
he
is,
he wrote an endorsement. He sold 25 million
all
copies.
right.
I wish.
Well, I know Steve Barry. He's been on this show twice.
I watched him. Yeah, he's
Yeah,
he's amazing. He's so kind.
he's a great guy. Okay, this is,
Ah,
I'm sorry, because this says, the talking point says, why a best selling author who sold 25 million books says, but it doesn't say who it is. So I assumed that
right.
it
I
was
didn't know whether
coming.
he wanted me to, bring that up because yeah, I don't think he wants to be deluged with emails from people, but he was so gracious. And a year later, I contacted him and said, it's being published. And he said, send me the manuscript and I'll write an endorsement. And he kindly did. It was amazing. It was terrific.
Well, okay,
Yeah.
so now that we know that that's Steve Barry,
Yes.
how did you connect how did you connect with him?
Well, I was looking for best-selling authors in my genre to see if they would consider endorsing or writing a blurb or just giving me a leg up. And he was the one. Oh, I contacted. He answered immediately, which I was so shocked because I went back to school in my aging years, and a lot of the professors they're accomplished authors, but they won't write an endorsement for a student, former student at all. So he was very gracious to me. I just contacted him out of the blue, you know.
Well, I
Yeah,
see
it was great.
on your bio it says you're a retired registered nurse, and then you
Yeah,
went back to school in your adult life,
very
and
adult. Yes,
you got a BA from Sarah Lawrence and then a MFA from Columbia. And
yes.
both of those were in writing, I assume, right?
Well, Sarah Lawrence was liberal arts, but I concentrated on writing and literature. It
Okay.
was pretty intense. I hadn't been in school for 35 years, so I was everybody's mom. But they helped me with technology, and I helped them with life.
Well,
So
that's a good
yeah,
trade-off.
yeah, it was wonderful.
Well, let me ask you something about that because
Sure.
in the entertainment industry, which I consider book writing and authors to be a part of, as musicians and actors and writers, we're kind of all in the same group because we create a product for people's entertainment. Did what they teach you or taught you at school help you in any way with the success of your writing?
It helped me to be a better writer. I think reading is what helps writers, improve. I read 1,200 pages a week at Columbia. The interesting thing about Columbia is, well, my class, they had 75 fiction writers, which was the largest class ever. And before the first day, the orientation, the chairman of the fiction department told the crowd, do not let the reading interfere with your writing. Well, you don't really say that to the young because they won't read. So I was in many seminars where I was the only one who actually did the work, reading. They would read on their phone during class. So it was interesting, but they're very good at flubbing it. I had to read. So it was intense, but Sarah Lawrence was a lot of work, it was a lot of writing, a lot of conference papers that were 27 pages long that we had to work on from the beginning. But I learned a lot. I took all kinds of classes, film, um, Roman art history, which is kind of where I got the idea for this particular book. from a professor at Sarah Lawrence, David Castriata, who was it was amazing. I learned a lot from him
So
as far as role. I'm sorry.
how many books do you have published at this point?
I have two. Well, one and the current one previous book and the current book. The first book was my thesis at Columbia. So
Oh,
I
okay.
handed it in as it was workshopped to death by, my thesis class. And then I had some really wonderful professors and also very, very smart, savvy young people help me. They didn't understand a lot of it because I write about real life, which they kind of went, from high school to college to graduate school, and they would not know about things, in general. So I would, especially the medical aspects, they all wrote something medical that was outlandish. So I helped them with that, and technology was my biggest struggle. So that was, formatting and things like that, which they graciously, I fed them and they did that for me. So it was fun.
While you were
But
a nurse, were you writing on the side at that point?
I started writing as a teenager. I think
Okay.
just about every writer starts with bad poetry. So I just found some I wrote when I was a kid, and but I was good at it, but I wasn't. I don't know. I didn't think I was good enough, so I wouldn't dare write anything and try to publish it unless I was armed to the teeth with, education and every kind of tool in my little box. But it did help me. All the critiques I had amazing, very accomplished professors, award-winning professors who guided me, and it did give me a huge advantage as far as writing is concerned. And then try to be disciplined to actually sit down and write. A lot of distractions. I even wrote a story on a plane about distractions, which are always a problem. But
Well, so you had the passion for writing as a teenager, you said.
yes,
Now,
yes.
why did you pursue nursing instead of just going straight into writing? How come you took
I don't
the
know.
roundabout
It
way
didn't occur to me that was something I could do
for a
until
living,
much
right?
later. People would call on me, "Oh, can you write a letter for me? Can you write an article for me? Can you do this?" And then I said, "Why don't I just give it a whirl?" And it was Sarah Lawrence actually would send me invitations. They had something called continuing education for adults, returning adults. So they sent me postcards every April. And finally I said, let me go. So I went, and it was really strange because I walked into this old rickety building, and there had to be about 200 people in there, very crowded. And the director came down the stairs and she just pointed to me and said, "Come up to my office. We need to talk. You need to do this," which was very strange, but I did. I did it. It was all writing. I didn't have to take any tests, which was great. It was just writing, and I did very well. Something I wrote in undergrad was published, so that was amazing.
Okay. We've got just
Mm.
about 4 minutes, so let's get to your book. Your book is
Okay.
called Vatican Daughter. Why don't you give us a bit of a synopsis of the story?
Vatican Daughter is about the first American pope who, as he's about to ascend the papacy, has pangs of guilt and asks to go into the confessional with a corrupt traditionalist cardinal. And he confesses that he had an affair with a journalist in Rome, and she's about to give birth to his child. And in order to avoid another church scandal, the cardinal arranges to have the baby kidnapped, and the Pope turns a blind eye. And the child is raised in the Vatican till the age of 12 when the mother returns. It was inspired by the real life papal kidnappings of Jewish children in 1859 by the then Pope Pius IX. And it's the story of young woman's relentless search for her child while coming head to head with the most powerful entity on earth.
Wow. You know, I can imagine all of that scenario except an American Pope.
Right? That's, well, yeah, well, I weave it in how the struggles he has because right in the first chapter, the murmurings of the cardinals, surely God didn't have a hand in this. Exactly. But it kind of worked through the story, but it
Well,
is a little far-fetched.
well, I
But maybe
forget
someday.
I forget his name. The one that the Polish Pope. That was a couple of popes ago.
John Paul.
Yeah, and they made such a
Yeah,
big deal about that.
right.
And
Well, he had a girlfriend. So that kind of came out. He had a girlfriend before he was Pope, which was interesting.
was was he
Who
the
knows what goes on?
was he the only non-Italian Pope there's ever been?
No, no. Uh-uh. Don't ask me exactly, but no,
Okay,
there were many.
there were
Yeah,
many that were not Italian. Yeah.
right.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not real up on the popes. I know there has been a couple hundred of them, but
Okay. I
but the
so
one
yeah, so it was fun to write.
I do kind of remember it. I don't know if it was a scandal or just a weird occurrence, but it was the one in the late 70s that the shortest reign, the pope who was like pope for 30 days or something and then
And died,
and
yeah.
died. Yeah.
There's a lot of conspiracy about that, a lot of theories that he was killed, but I don't know. Perhaps. Maybe that'll be the next book.
Well, you could take a cue from the Godfather Part Three because I think they went into that. I don't know if you've seen that
Right.
movie, but
Oh, please, hundreds of times.
yeah,
My husband watches it all the time. Um, yeah, I don't know. A lot goes on. I delve into it in the book, what goes on that people don't know. I did a lot of research, took about 10 years. So I have another book. I won't call it a sequel because it can stand on its own, but it continues the story, and that's waiting in the wings to be submitted.
oh, okay. Yeah, I
So
was just going to ask you that
yeah,
if you were going to write
right.
another book.
Yeah,
So
it's done.
it's
It's
done.
done.
Is it going to be officially
Yes.
Part Two?
No, I don't think so because it can really stand on its own. It's kind of like Dan Brown's, he writes about the same characters, but each book can stand alone. So I'm hoping they'll see it that way. But yeah, I mean, I kind of weave the original story into the second book, but I don't think it would be considered a sequel per se.
Do you have any anticipated date that that one may be released?
It takes forever. So this book took about close to 2 years to come out by the time they read it over and everybody decides and then so I'm going to submit it in the summer. They want to see how this book does, and then they'll start, I guess, if they like it.
So
They'll
it's
start.
up to your publisher,
It's
basically.
it's daunting.
Yeah.
It's daunting to find, agents. I had an agent briefly, but it didn't work out, and it's very hard. It's time consuming. I'd much rather write than look for an agent or a publisher or or market, but it's
Well, I
necessary. It's
agree.
all part of the package.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
yeah,
So this one, Vatican Daughter, is out, has been released?
it's on pre-order on Amazon and
Pre-order.
Barnes and Noble. It'll be released May 1st.
Okay. Well, Joni,
It
we
can
got
be
to.
ordered. And there's more stories on my website, which is my name, JoniMarieIraci.com, IRACI. And I have some short stories on there and more information if anybody cares to look.
All right. Well, we'll put
So
your website up on the screen. Thank you so much for
thank,
coming on this show, and best of luck with your work. Hope it does well.
thank you so much. Thank you for having me. It was fun.